What is going on in the housing market right now is a question we are hearing all the time from homeowners, from sellers, from buyers. And anytime I go out and people know that I'm a realtor, they're asking me, hey, what in the world is going on? News headlines make it sound like it's the end of the world and housing prices keep going up. So I'm gonna break down as simply as possible the three major things that are affecting this housing market, or really any housing market. I've got a couple of different charts so you can see the visuals of what's actually been going on. And I'm not just gonna look at this on a month over month. So this is your June market update, but I'm really gonna look at the overall housing market, show you where you're at right now, but also zoom out and look at the bigger picture of the overall housing market. So if you don't know who I am, my name is Stubbs. I'm a team leader here, and I want to go through and just make it to where anybody can understand what's going on in the housing market. So if somebody asks you, you have an easy answer. But at the same point, if you're sitting on the fence thinking about making a move, or if you know somebody that is, I want to be able to give you the information that should help you understand what's really going on here, because the headlines are definitely not telling you the truth. So let's move in right now. We're going to look at three things that are affecting the housing market, really any market. But you have supply, you have demand, and then you have pricing. So one thing, I'm going to say this, is there's a ton of people right now who are talking about prices are going to come down because rates have gone up. And that's not what's happening. So let's look at first two things, supply and demand first. Let's dive into supply. So I've got a couple of charts here. I'm gonna look over at my computer and we'll have this up on the screen. Is that we're gonna look at the active inventory. This means available supply of homes in Orange County since 2008. And you can see that in 2008, there were almost 20,000 listings on the market, which is no wonder why prices were plummeting at that time. A normal housing market is somewhere between that 6,000 to 8,000 homes, which we haven't seen since 2020. But really, if you look all the way from 2014 through 2020, Yes. If you look from 2014 to 2020, that was a pretty healthy normal market. Obviously, we know what happened in 2020 and we know what happened in 2008, but the middle there was pretty normal. So when you look at the supply of homes that are on the market right now, you can see that we're historic lows outside of maybe a few months ago. So when there is very little supply on the market, it's really hard for prices to come down unless there's less demand, which we'll get to in a second. But imagine this, if you were going through a grocery store and there was about 30% of the normal stuff in the market. So every time you and I walk into the grocery store, it's always 100% full of everything. Maybe it's missing one of your favorite things, but for the most part, the shelves are all totally full. Now, that would be in Orange County like having about 6,000 to 8,000 homes on the market. And we have about 3,000 homes on the market right now, actually less than that. So that would be like having less than half of the aisles full in the grocery store. That's kind of the analogy that we'll make just to show how little inventory is on the market. And this has been the problem for the last 2 years. Okay, now the next thing we're going to talk about is demand. So what is demand? Demand is measured, at least in real estate, by the number of pending sales. Pending meaning a house is in contract, under escrow, meaning that a buyer has written an offer on it, the seller has accepted the offer, and we're waiting for that deal to close. This is pending. So this is how we measure buyer demand in the real estate market. So if we look at this graph, again, I'm looking over at my computer here, this is showing pending sales since 2008. And back to the last chart, maybe we put them both together here. The active inventory in 2008 had 20,000 homes on the market. And if you look over here at the pending, there were so few homes that were actually in escrow, lower than really even now, almost the same. And there's so much less inventory. And you can see through 2020, demand peaked and spiked because interest rates were so low that everybody wanted to go in and buy a home. And since interest rates have gone up, or about a year ago, you can see the demand has gone down and down and down, which is no surprise because with prices going up and interest rates going up, it's become way more expensive to buy a property. All right, so what we've seen so far is that supply is really low and demand was really, really high, but it's pulled down as well. So what we see right now is a market that has pretty neutral but low supply and demand, which is why we have not seen prices change dramatically because supply and demand have been pretty equal. So here's a question on supply is why aren't more homes coming on the market? Two major reasons. Reason number one, homeowners have really low rates. Most homeowners that have a mortgage have below a 4% interest rate. And those that have above a 4% interest rate usually have a really old loan, meaning they're very close to paying it off and it wasn't worth refinancing. So with so many people having below 4% interest rate, really even below 3%, that means that it's going to be really expensive on the loan side if they want to sell that house and move on to another one, because then they're going to be moving up to today's rates. So that's one of the major reasons why so many homeowners are staying on the sidelines and waiting for something to happen. Now, number two is that for the last 3 years, we have been in a crazy competitive environment. And for those homeowners, which is most people who need to sell so that they can buy their next home, that has been nearly impossible for the last 3 years since the hype in 2020 when rates came down. So for those people right now, if you're in that position and you have not yet heard about our Buy Before You Sell program, you need to reach out or go to our website and check out the Buy Before You Sell option. Maybe we'll have something on the screen here for you, but that is a program that actually allows you to buy your next property before you list your current home. Super important to know if you're in that position. But if you don't want to use that program, right now is a fantastic time to be buying and selling at the same time because it's not nearly as competitive. So those are the two major reasons why supply has not increased like a lot of people thought it would. Okay, now let's get to what everybody wants to talk about, and this is the pricing. What have prices done, or what is going to happen with pricing is something that almost everybody asks about. So in my opinion, the easiest way to look at this is to look again at the chart, for those that are visual, of what has happened in the last 3 years. Now, 3 years ago was just about the time we were in lockdown in 2020, where you could see the prices started plummeting when people were selling out of fear of what might happen. Now, that is at the very beginning of this chart. And then, as we all know, the housing market took off. So we saw prices go up and up and up until the point where we saw interest rates go up. And then prices started pulling back in the winter of 2022. Now here we are right now, where we had the single largest spike in pricing for the last 30 days. So prices right now as of June, from April to May, prices went up more than any other 1 month span, even at the peak of the market. Now, why is this happening? Well, like I said, supply is low, demand is also low, but they're flat. So there's a lot of people who are thinking, you know what, I'm gonna get into the market right now, just like the people that took advantage of the market for the last 6 months. There's a lot of people thinking, I'm gonna get in, I'm gonna take advantage of this market right now. If I can find a house that I like and I'm comfortable buying, I'm gonna get in that house, I'm gonna lock in my price, and I know that in the next couple of years, I know with a 90% certainty, I'm going to be able to refinance my loan and get a much lower rate. So last year about this time, we saw prices peak. And what we see right now is prices inching back up closer to that peak. Now, we're not quite there yet. So if you're buying now versus then, you're still getting a better deal on the house. Yes, interest rates have changed, but what happens now if interest rates pull back? So to address everybody that's been saying the housing market is going to crash because interest rates have gone up, well, we've had about 6% interest rates or higher for over a year now, and buyers are just realizing that this is the new market. So now that we have got used to these higher interest rates, inventory has stayed very flat. Prices are beginning to increase as we see more demand coming to the market. Okay, so here's a summary for you. Homeowners, you're likely to continue to see your price stay flat and probably increase through this year. So good news for you, glad to be a homeowner. Your equity is safe. The likelihood of prices coming down dramatically is very low unless for some reason a ton of homes come to the market. So if you're thinking about buying an investment or doing any of that stuff, I'd probably urge you to do it sooner than later. Now, for prospective home buyers, here's my advice. We talk to a lot of people that are in your position, and there's two major objections that we commonly hear. Number one, I'm waiting for interest rates to come down. And number two, I'm waiting for the market to crash. So let's talk about number one first. If you're waiting for interest rates to come down before you purchase, just understand that when interest rates do come down, unless there's some other huge event that happens, if inventory is anywhere near where it's at now and interest rates come down, we will have a hyper competitive market just like we had in 2020 and 2021. So if you're waiting for that to happen, just understand that you're likely going to be in a situation where you're bidding against 10, 20 other offers, just like the people who bought 2 years ago did. So there's nothing wrong with waiting for interest rates to come down, but just understand that's really what you're waiting for, is a hyper-competitive market. Now let's go to number 2, are the people who are waiting for prices to drop dramatically. And when we say a crash, we're talking 20 or 30% price drops. So if that's you and you're waiting for that to happen, my question to you is, what do you think is going to bring a tremendous amount of homes to the marketplace? Because that's really what the only thing right now is going to cause housing prices to drop dramatically. And if you're reading this in an email or you're watching this video on our blog, comment or shoot me a message and just let me know what you think is going to have to happen in order for that many homes to come on the market. Right, my last point is for the sellers. So if you're in that position where you need to sell your home in order to buy something, you are in an amazing position. Well, first of all, you need to ask about our buy before you sell program. It is one of the easiest ways to make this move happen, and our clients are taking advantage of it left and right. But you're in a position right now where you can trade your property, so you can sell your property for a fantastic price in this competitive market we're in now. As long as it looks good and is priced right, those homes, and marketed well, those homes are selling very quickly and at great prices. And on the buy side, if you're able to leverage a deal and negotiate, you can find really good deals out there, but it's not going to be nearly as competitive as if you wait till rates to drop, and then you're back in a situation where a contingent offer is unlikely to get accepted anyway. And you're in a position now where there's so many people who are unsure about what's going to happen, is we're seeing a lot of off-market opportunities as well too. So for sellers, you guys are in a great position. And for home buyers, get into the marketplace and take advantage of the situation before it gets really competitive. Understand that you can refinance that rate and you want to lock in a lower price. And for those who are waiting for the market to crash, like I said, let me know what you think is going to bring a ton of inventory to the market, because I'm just not seeing it, at least not in Orange County. And as always, this is the most important thing. I can give you all the information of what's going on overall in the marketplace, but your situation's always unique. So if you want to reach out and talk about your situation, I'd be more than happy to, or reach out to one of our local experts. You can always go over to our site at SoCalHomesForSale.com. You can browse around what's available and reach out when you're ready. Again, my name is Christian Stubbs. Thanks so much for watching, and we'll see you next time.